Hey, welcome to Split Your Head. I'm your host, Bob, and today I have a special guest on. Her name is Dionne Copland. I'm pronouncing that right, correct?
Yeah, well, it's Copeland, but like there's no
Copeland!
so.
Okay. Like Douglas Copeland.
I don't know who that is. I'm so
Oh,
embarrassed
wow.
already.
Okay. And because Dionne is based
Oh,
out of
oh,
Vancouver, BC, I thought maybe she would know that Canadian
oh,
author.
the author. Oh, the author. Right,
Yes,
it's got
yes, yes, yeah,
he's
yeah.
got the U. Sorry, so I always pronounced
Right.
it Copeland. Yeah, no, actually he wrote one of the most devastating books I read in high school. So yeah. Just
Wait,
like
which one was that? Which one was that?
I can't remember what it's called. It was one about the school shooting. That told from three different
Oh
perspectives.
my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, I read that too. Has like apocalypse in the name, maybe.
Something like that, but it was
Oh,
very sad, and
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. Anyways, enough about him. We'll talk about the other Copeland, Dionne Copeland. So yeah, she is a filmmaker based out of Vancouver, BC. Her most recent feature film was her debut feature called Cold Wind Blowing. And before that, she made The Inferno, Computer Hearts, and Dax Headroom, all projects that she's put out through her production company, Cybercraft Video. And her next film is currently in pre-production called Riding Shotgun. So welcome, Dionne. Thank you so much for coming on. I'm stoked to talk to
Thank
you
you.
about all your awesome movies.
Thank you, and thank you for having me. Yeah, hearing all that out loud, it's like, oh, it's been a trip, a long time since Cold and Blowing.
Right, yeah, because I on Letterbox it says 2022, but then I was reading reviews that said it was like 2020, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, so actually, right after graduation from film school, me and I'm sure you've seen on like everything I do, my film partner Louise Ward,
Hmm.
right out of film school, we directed, like, we needed something to do, so I wrote and directed that like 6 months after we graduated in 2017, and then we filmed that in the winter of 2017, and then edited it
Okay.
over like 2 years because it was literally just us, a couple of my family members, and then six cast members in the woods, and it was terrifying. It was
Oh,
terrifying. Yeah, and then
okay.
it finally got released, and like we've bounced around because the company that picked us up has been bought by another company. Mutiny has been bought by Bayview Entertainment, and Mutiny kind of
Hmm.
was bumping around with it, but Bayview finally got it out
Okay.
on Blu-ray about 2 weeks ago, last month. Yeah, so
Oh,
that's been
what?
nice.
Okay. Yeah, because I feel like I saw Louise post about it saying that it was up for sale and sold out already. But was that like a
Yes.
previous version of it?
Well, we had a sold out like DVD version when
Oh, okay.
Mutiny released it, and then we had a sold out version of the Blu-ray run just recently, and like we've had trouble with the rights actually because
Hmm.
it's available in the United States on physical media, but in Canada not so much, and it's like, come on, we've been trying to get it to all of like our fellow Canadians.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah,
Do you
yeah.
know why that is, or like, are you cool to talk about that?
I'm not exactly sure. Like, I mean, we were starry-eyed little kids when we finally got
Okay.
like a deal, you know what I mean? And it's like, yeah,
Right.
we'll learn the hard way how long it takes things to get moving, especially when you have a
Yeah.
self-funded feature for like, I don't know, 20,000 Canadian in the end. And
Oh,
like,
wow. Okay.
yeah, it was really exciting though,
Hmm.
because like Larry Fessenden's one of my absolute favorite filmmakers of all time. And
Yeah,
he,
yeah.
sight unseen, agreed to do a voice cameo while he was doing Depraved. He was on set on Depraved, and he phoned in and he played like the voice of the radio announcer and stuff just because he
Oh,
appreciated what we were
okay.
doing too. So that was really
Yeah.
cool.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I saw his credits in there, and I wasn't sure what he was doing because I didn't see him on screen, and I was like, "Is he the creature?"
I wish we could have had
Yeah.
time, but yeah, no. He was our radio announcer. He was our chorus on the radio, telling us what's all going on.
Yeah. Oh, okay. That's
Yeah,
so awesome. Yeah, and then you get to include like Larry Fessenden in the credits, and then that brings more
we
people to watching and everything.
exactly.
Because I haven't seen much of his work at all, but like I
Mm.
know his kind of I guess stature, I guess it would say, in like independent horror and everything.
Well,
Like,
I would recommend 100% Wendigo and Habit are two of just the greatest films I've seen in general. He
wow.
really, really, really can connect emotionally. I find that he understands character, and he understands like the humanity and the depravity of
Okay.
characters, and he just kind of tells it through a genre lens and through like creature features, and I really really respect his work, and I think that the acting in both those two films are incredible, as well as the style. I think that if you can find that like box set that like I think it was Scream Factory put out a few years
Okay.
back of like 4 of his films, it is an excellent box set to check out.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting because, I haven't seen any of his work, but the way you're describing, I'm like, that sounds a lot like what you do because your films are very much through a genre lens, but just like emphasize more of like human drama and like inner turmoil and things like that, things that you wouldn't necessarily expect to see in like a creature feature, like a B horror movie or anything.
Thank you. I take
Yeah.
that as a really big compliment because
Absolutely. Yeah.
that's exactly why I make films, as I love character.
Okay.
I think that genre is a really exciting space to
Mm-hmm.
tell stories about humanity and about character, because
Yeah.
people aren't always going to behave in ways that you expect, and people aren't always bad for behaving in terrifying ways when like your life is on the line. And I think that there's a lot of human moments that you're really going to find in situations like that, and that's what I really like exploring, and that's what I'm really excited about with my next project. Is it's not a horror, it's more of an erotic thriller along like the same vein of like something like True Romance, something wild, a little bit of Buffalo 66, Near Dark, kind of
Okay.
all mixed, which is like, yeah, like no vampires, like, but
right.
like a lovers on the run violent thing. And I think that like, violence can be really exciting, but it can also be really really devastating, and I really like to see the gritty violence and how people would actually react to that. Yeah, which is like
how it changes you.
Exactly. And I think that Jeremy Saulnier actually is really, really good at that as well. Like
totally,
Green Room with the when Anton Yelchin's arm in Green Room, that's kind of what we were going for with Tommy's arm in Cold and Glowing.
Oh, true.
Yeah, it's something kind of that visceral and disgusting to see and be like, oh, I can almost feel that. And I like that type of violence where it's like, it doesn't have to be a lot of violence, but it has to be like something significant that sticks with you, Like
it resonates through you.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I know this is kind of like a pretty obvious point, but like Ari Aster, I feel like that's what draws me to his work is that kind of like he hits you over the head with something really extreme, and then the rest of the film is just like watching it resonate with all these different characters,
Yeah, that's what I like. I got to see Hereditary like opening night with a really good audience. Like when the decapitation scene happened, it was very, very exciting because none of us were expecting something like that. And it was nice to be in a theater where everyone at the same time gasped. And then you could a pin drop in the theater because it was like, yeah, this was really effective, and it really messed everybody up.
Yeah. Wow. I wish I could have seen that. Yeah. That's awesome. The only time I can think of that is, do you know the movie Caché? The Michael Haneke film? There's
I haven't seen it because Haneke is really rough for me. Like,
true. Okay.
Yeah. Like,
I know I'm like wearing the. Sorry.
No. It's funny because like in film school, people are like, "You're just like Von Trier and Haneke because you're so depressing and this and that," and I was like, how dare you? I'm not depressing, this is that. And it's like, oh, it was like weird. I had to look at myself, and like I've just started to get into Von Trier, but like Funny Games fucked me up so much when I was like, I don't know, 18, that I was like, I'm totally not edgy like Haneke. And then it's like, oh no, like sometimes you just don't want to look at yourself.
No, that's so interesting that you say that, because I was thinking about this earlier of how like I don't know if it's always every film with Michael Haneke, but at least Lars von Trier is like, he's really designed his films in a way to like hurt the audience. Like they're almost very nihilistic films, and I don't get that vibe at all from your films, because you like, even thinking of the Inferno, how even though, like, I don't want to spoil it for people that are listening that haven't seen it, but the ending is like when the horror really comes, but there is very much like a union. Again, I don't want to spoil it, but
Yeah.
do you know what I'm saying? Like, without having to go into
Yeah.
detail. Yeah. There's
I know
like
what you're
people come
saying.
together. There's a community there. Do you know what I mean? It isn't nihilistic,
Absolutely.
like the world is over. You know what I mean? It's like the world
And
is beginning.
exactly. I try to do that because I'm like, I don't, I'm trying to like walk a really fine balance, because any movie that has devastated me like deeply
Mm,
becomes like a favorite movie. Like, okay,
totally.
this movie's
Yeah.
been out since the beginning of time, so if you haven't seen Scream 2, spoiler alert. But like the scene in Scream 2, when Dewey is stabbed on the other side of the glass and like Gail like sees him,
Oh
and
yeah.
I saw that for the first time when I was 11. And that
Okay.
to me was such a devastating moment of like, I don't know, true love and all the things. Like it felt as sad as like All Dogs Go to Heaven. And I was like, I
Okay.
want to make movies that make people feel the way that I felt seeing that for the first time, where you're like, oh my God, there's so many emotions here. This is scary. This is sad. And most of all,
Wow.
there's love here, and it can like just rip your heart out. So
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't want to be like, I like to leave a glimmer of hope, but I do like those moments
Mm-hmm.
of like, wow, this could, if I was a young girl seeing this could totally send me on like the trajectory of making movies for the rest of my life.
Okay. No, I'm so glad you brought up Scream 2, because the person that came to mind when I was watching Cold Wind Blowing, especially, was Kevin Williamson. Like, I'm
That's
guessing. Oh, sorry. Go.
no. I'm just so excited because I love Kevin Williamson.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, I was like, I got a real like '90s teen vibe, and I mean, obviously, like, his dialogue is very particular, and
Mhm.
your dialogue's great, but his is very like you can tell it's like this really like wordy old gay guy like writing this stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um,
And I mean, if I could describe myself in my heart, I am a wordy old gay guy. So like,
oh,
I
okay.
totally
That's
like
awesome.
dialogues where I live. I'm like, I just want these
Cool.
characters to talk to each other. So sorry,
And that's
everybody.
what they no that's what they do.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's cool. I mean, I think that's kind of the best way to go for genre filmmakers kind of like starting out now, is like definitely get the tools of genre, but try to, you want to tell a solid story, you want good characters, and I mean, like, I hate to bring up this person who does that, but like Quentin Tarantino, do you know what I mean? Like,
Oh,
he does.
um,
Oh, is that
I
bad, or oh, okay.
no, I have a death proof tattoo. Yeah, no.
What? Oh my
If
god.
Quentin Tarantino means like, I know that it's like, oh, film bro, this and that, but when I was 13 years old, like my dad showed me Pulp Fiction for the first time, and I was like, okay, so movies are cool. And then Death Proof, like since 2007, has been one of my favorite movies. um
Wow. Okay.
with my new script, actually, riding shotgun, we were having we were part of the genre lab through like Women in Film Vancouver, and we were at the Frontier Market at Fantasia last year pitching it. And
Mm-hmm.
so a lot of people had to read the script, and it is my baby, but it's also my wordiest script. And someone was like, oh, you have dialogue, you're like, I could see you being the next Tarantino. And I was like, I could kiss you on the mouth. He's like, your dialogue's very
Oh,
different. I'm
okay.
like, yeah, but I am a dialogue heavy person. Like,
Cool.
dialogue is
Cool.
my favorite thing. So I'm
Yeah.
still a Tarantino stan.
Oh no, that's good. And you definitely want that over like Kevin Smith. Do you know what I mean? Like the two people that come to mind when I think of like dialogue heavy films would be like Tarantino and Kevin Smith. But like nobody
Yeah.
wants to be compared to Kevin. No shade on Kevin Smith.
Well,
Like, yeah.
and that's kind of the sad thing is like, because, well, I graduated high school in 2006. So like as
Okay.
a young kid, like I was like, getting into movies in like 2000 when I was
Yeah,
like
yeah.
12 and stuff. And like the first Clerks was everything to me. I was like, this is great. I've never seen anything like this. And then
Really?
I
Okay.
feel like Kevin Smith found weed and stopped making Kevin Smith movies and started making movies that were better as a podcast. Sorry if you hear this, Kevin Smith, but like
Wow.
I find him
Okay.
as like a storyteller fascinating, but
Okay.
you know, he is not the same filmmaker that he used to be. Like, to me, he was one of the
Totally.
first guys. I remember me and Louise were saying one time, we're like, he is the cautionary tale of why you don't smoke weed. Because
Oh my God.
wait.
It's
the first man whose weed has ruined his career.
I don't know if I can let this slander on weed go down on this podcast. Like I'm not pro weed, but I don't hate weed.
Oh,
I mean, I guess I'm pro weed. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm pro weed.
You're on the right
I'm
side.
Canadian. Yeah.
So am I. Yeah, and you know, you have to be on the right. I am on the war on drugs. I am on the side of drugs. So like.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 100%. Drugs need to be protected at all costs.
Exactly.
Kevin Smith. He's terrible. Yeah.
Oh my God. And it makes me sad because I love Kevin Smith, like, and I also love getting stoned and watching Kevin Smith movies. But I liked Kevin Smith before he decided to make horror films. And I was like, okay. I liked it when he just wanted to talk about movies. Because, like, I worked in video stores from the time I was, like, 17
so cool.
to, like, 29. So, like, as someone who was very obviously a clerk, like, I just related so heavily to that movie.
Wow. I was the person that always wanted to work at the video store, and I could never get a job there. I kept trying, and no one would hire me. I don't know what's wrong with me. I just couldn't. They wouldn't hire me, or they wouldn't even give me an interview.
You don't
really have to comment on that, or you look like you froze a little bit. So.
No, it's funny because like I worked at Videomatica in Vancouver, which was like kind of, it used to be a huge rental store, and then it shut down. But then we still had like a small sales section, and I worked at it when it was Videomatica sales, and it was just me and my manager. And then I don't know if you've ever heard of Robin Boogie, but he does like Cinema Sewer, and he does all like, he's like a porn historian. He does incredible comics. He's pretty famous in underground comics and stuff like that. But it was the three of us like worked there, and my manager had told me, he's like, yeah, people who like sometimes I avoid people who know a lot about movies, and like we all knew a ton about movies, but he's like, there's certain people who want to talk about movies and don't want to sell movies, and he's like, it sucks because they know so much, but he's like, I need people to get through the store. So if you loved movies, you were less likely to get a movie job, which was funny.
No, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, because you have to sell the product, right? So
and he's like, it just can't be a hangout club, and I'm like, but why not? And I mean, anytime he wasn't there, I was talking about movies all day anyway. So
yeah, I hear you. I mean, you're living the Kevin Smith dream at that point, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you work. Do you still work at a video store?
No. So Louise and I used to be, essentially married. Like, she and I were together for 9 years, and last year we split up romantically. We're still film partners and everything like that. And we still make everything together. But, I'm currently back in my hometown of Medicine Hat, Alberta right now.
You're in Alberta. Okay.
Yeah. Just over the last year, I've also, like, my parents just retired, so I've been helping out a little too around the house and like with the garden and things. And then just been doing a ton of writing, and Louise and I have been doing a lot of traveling, doing a lot of markets and everything like that. But like,
nice.
We have both been kind of not in Vancouver on and off for the last year. But like everything is like 100% amicable between us. We're still best friends. We're still film partners for life. But yeah, like, our divorce is over. That's so good. Yeah.
You're like the Fleetwood Mac of horror movies.
Kind of.
Yeah.
But dibs. I'm Stevie Nicks.
Dibs. Oh, okay. I think you get it. You call dibs. How close is Medicine Hat to Edmonton?
About 5.5, 6 hours, depending on traffic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Never mind. Yeah, no, my wife and I were in Edmonton last summer because she was doing a show at the Edmonton Fringe, and there was a really
Oh, nice.
cool, yeah, there was a really cool video store there that just like catered to a lot of like underground horror films, cult films. Like, have you been to Edmonton?
Yeah, a couple of my friends
Okay.
actually, like even that I went to film school with, and one of my best friends actually, her husband, I don't know if he still works for Fringe, but he was a big part of Fringe for like the
Oh,
last
wow.
decade.
Okay.
Yeah. So they probably know each other. And then like one of my best friends just we went to film school together. They just
Hmm.
got into Cal Arts. They're doing a master's in animation down there, and they're from
Sweet.
Edmonton. So there's a lot of really cool art people from Edmonton
Wow.
in my
Okay.
life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was an interesting city. It felt very violent. Yeah, it
It
was kind of
has some
rough.
spooky parts of town, but it is
Yeah.
less scary than Vancouver. Vancouver is a little bit terrifying.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. Like, I mean, there's the notorious downtown East Side, and I just feel
Right.
really bad about it because it's like there are more empty homes in Vancouver that are just there collecting dust than there are people who are
Oh
houseless, and it's
man.
like there is an obvious solution to this. Like, there is no reason that Vancouver
Yeah.
is that expensive and that many people are on the streets, and like,
Yeah.
I
Mm.
shame on Vancouver is what I have to say about how they
Yeah.
handle people
Uh,
without in that city. Like
yeah.
the cops tearing down tent cities and stuff like that, and it's like, really? Is that what you're gonna do with your day to day?
Yeah.
Like
The exact same thing is happening in Toronto right now, or it has been for the past few years with the pandemic and everything. And there's like a huge protest going on a couple weeks about the skyrocketing. What's it called?
cost of living.
Cost of living, yes, that's
Yeah.
the wording for it. And just so many homeless people everywhere you go. It's getting worse and worse. The drug crisis is getting worse and worse. So yeah, it's a lot of problems. And
It is.
for you, like living in Vancouver, and as you said, it being so violent, like did it feed at all into your work?
Not really, because like when I was living there, for most of the time that I lived there, I lived literally a block off the university, and that
Mm,
was a really, really, really quiet part of town. However, like even living in the like one of the quietest, oldest parts of town, um, our garage in our apartment building and our
hmm.
car had gotten broken into twice there, and then our car had gotten broken into a third time downtown. Like people would just break into the building. Like you just kind of get used
Wow.
to it. You're just like, there's things you get used to in Vancouver that like when I come home here and my dad's like, someone broke into my truck and stole my change, and I'm like, wow, that must be really terrifying for you, because
Yeah.
someone broke into everything always every day in Vancouver, and it was a nightmare.
Wow.
It was
Wow.
like, just don't get attached to your stuff.
Wow.
Like,
No, it's interesting though, because like you were saying earlier, one of the big things in your work is like violence and how it kind of resonates with people, and it's like maybe subconsciously that's your work is focusing on that because you've had to basically get used to these like violent acts around you.
somewhat for me, I find that it wasn't necessarily location based. Like, to get a little, like, I guess, gendered for a moment, I found
Oh,
that
true.
there's a lot of times that I've just suffered violence, even just going into,
Mm.
like a washroom, like in a local pub here. Like, believe
Oh,
me, like
wow.
people who are like trans exclusionary and stuff, no trans person's coming into a bathroom to hurt you, they just want to go pee. I've
Yeah,
had
yeah,
men with pool cues follow me into the women's bathroom and threaten me, but I can say that that is just the violence that like women go through all the time. It's terrifying, and it's even
yeah,
harder if you're trans or if you're woman of color. And it's like,
yeah.
okay, that's just the like I like I don't know. I had a friend ask me, like a male friend ask me once, and he was like,
Mm.
why are women so into like true crime and all that stuff? And I'm like, I don't know, it just feels like we're always kind of just preparing, because it's like, yeah, the more you
Yeah.
know, like, it's like if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. It's like, I know what not to do in a parking garage. I know what
Right.
not to do in this situation. And it's like,
Yeah.
it's fucked
Yeah.
up that we as like an entire like gender kind of have to be like, I know how not to get killed today. And it's like definitely something that has sat on my mind as like someone who was an incredibly anxious, neurotic child, and is still an incredibly anxious, neurotic adult. Is literally someone is going to kill, because like, even all gender aside, and sorry for being on a rant, but
no, I love
all gender
it.
aside,
Go.
growing up in the 90s, it was literally like the era of someone is stranger danger, someone's going to get you. So from the time I was this big, my mom and my grandma are like, someone is going to kidnap you and kill you, and this is what you have to do. And I'm like, okay, all right, I know what to do in this situation. I'm 7 years old and I'm ready to go.
Right, yeah. It's like it's ingrained in you that like violence is a part of your life, you know?
Exactly.
It's not even like this surprise element. It's like every day it might happen, you know?
Exactly. And like, I don't know, like, I mean, even on the internet, because like I'm a very like open person. I love doing memes. I'm a very like open about like sexuality and stuff like that. Sometimes that invites like the weirdest things that people just assume they can say to you, and it's like, hey, just because like this doesn't mean you should like come into someone's DMs and say the most unhinged thing you've ever said in the world.
Right. Yeah, no, I can totally picture that. I'm so sorry you have to deal with that. That sucks.
I mean, it's, as someone who like is a screenwriter, I'm like, well, this is all content and life experience.
Yes. that's super positive way to look at it, for sure. And it makes me think back to the Inferno, because that to me was the energy just like emanating off that film of just, you know, I hate to be reductive by saying this, but it's just so like, fuck men, you know? Which I think most people can get behind, so.
Yeah, well, like, the thing was, I've, like, how many times have we seen, like, the reverse happen in a film? And I literally had boys in my class being like, this is misandrous, this, and that. How would you feel if the shoe was on the other foot? And I'm like, have you seen anything from the horror genre? The shoe's been on the other foot for 1.5 million years. I don't feel bad about making something for women, by women, and quite frankly, if you're upset about it, good, then I guess my movie affected you. Like,
yeah. that was the kind of reaction you were getting when you were showing people?
Not even that, like, just when we were workshopping in class, and there were girls who like obviously loved it, and then there were guys who obviously loved it too, because they got it. Like, yeah, like, it's fair use violence, like, for everybody, like the whole gender spectrum, fair use violence, right? And so, but totally. Like, to have, but like, it just was so crazy to me to have like my TA being like, no, you don't understand. How would you feel if like this was all the genders are reversed in this and this happened? And I'm like,
what?
Have you ever? I'm like, how would I feel? I would feel like I'm watching anything that's ever been made, dude. Like, can you calm down and watch like a guy die and not cry about it? Because like, I've seen women be splattered from here to Timbuktu. Like,
I don't understand someone consciously trying to make that argument.
Me neither. Because like, here's the thing. Yeah, like, even if I am like swinging a bat at a hornet's nest, it's like, yeah, but you as someone who's a TA and as someone who like does film should at least understand then from like a regular perspective that someone is doing something different with a trope. Like, I don't know. And that I just found insulting that like he brought it down to the like gendering of it, when I was like, okay, yeah, but like, how come you can't just then be like, oh, this might not be for me, but I see what you've done here. But no.
Yeah. Like, was he trying to say that like you shouldn't be killing anybody in a film though? Like, I don't understand.
No, he was literally saying I was being like, he didn't use the word, but he was saying that I was being a misandrist and that I should feel ashamed of myself. And like, my professor was like, we've gone too far. this is not the conversation we need to have about this. My professor was behind me 100% on that film. And
that's awesome.
Like he was great, and he was kind of scratching his head, I think, at the fact that, but then he would laugh because he loved it when everyone would start yelling at each other and get into debates about their script. So it was like, this is what you should do when you're writing film. So
I mean, I think like genre cinema, or at least horror cinema especially, should invite a bit of like provocation. It should get a little bit of like ruffling people's feathers. Like some people should get pissed off by it.
And also when I was in film school at UBC, Louise and I were the only two people in our class doing genre. So a lot of people, like we were the like weird horror kids in like our cohort, and it's kind of like, if genre isn't your thing, and like we were both film studies people as well, and we look at all of our films very intellectually, and like we're fans of, and I find this true about all genre people. Genre people have the widest range of taste because they watch the one genre that people are afraid of. Plus, they're usually people who watch everything. And so they're watching French New Wave, they're watching sci-fi, they're watching romance, they're watching everything, and they're not scared to watch the violence. So Louise and I would be approaching these things very intellectually, and sometimes it's like people still can only see the shock elements. And so we finally had some people that were like, listen, we don't know if we're going to show this cut because you guys don't watch the genre, and can you please try and like watch it with an open mind? And there was one guy in my class who was like, he was a fantastic guy, and he'd be like, I know this isn't for me, so I can't comment on it, but I think this is really fun, and I think you guys made what you wanted to make. And it's like, and I really respected that, because some people would just literally be like, well, this is violent, and it's like, we're making a violent film, thank you for
but I guess like you'd want to expose people that maybe it's not for, almost to just see like, well, how did they react to it, right?
Oh yeah, and like there was these huge screenings at the end of the year, and everyone's families would come, and we had walkouts during our movie because like during Haxx, Dead Room, we had walkouts because like like with all the throat cutting, and then like our one friend who has like the tongue split when he did like the like fake tongue cut, like we just saw people get up and go, and it's like, all right, they'll be back in 20 minutes.
What?
And I'm like, come on, you're gonna see something wild.
Those people are they're losers.
Right? And it's like,
they've lost out.
To be fair, it was some people's like 50-year-old moms, and I'm like, okay, maybe it's too much for your delicate sensitivities, but I know a lot of 50-year-old moms that are really into horror. So.
Hell yeah. My mom got me into horror.
Yeah.
But I mean,
what was the first movie that she got you into?
I seem to remember Waxwork being the first horror movie I watched. I could be wrong.
Dana Ashbrook.
Right, from Twin Peaks.
Yeah.
Which is funny because watching the Inferno, you're short, that Twin Peaks really like came to mind for some reason. I don't know if that was intentional or not. Or
it was 100%.
Yeah?
Everything
cool.
that Louise and I do is like, we are Lynchians through and through. The whole way that we even met was talking about Twin Peaks. Like, Cold Wind Blowing is named Cold Wind Blowing because that's one of my favorite David Lynch songs, and he gave us the rights. That's the end credit song is David Lynch's song. And him performing it. So it, like, I'm so honored and happy to hear that. Because a lot of people, when they watched Inferno, the first time, everyone was like, Neon Demon came out at the same time, and everyone's like, are you doing Refn? Are you doing Drive? Are you doing this? And I'm like, no, I'm not. And I love Drive, like, but I'm like, great. No, I'm not. What I'm doing is I'm doing Verhoeven meets Lynch, and that's which I guess is
Verhoeven,
which is essentially Verhoeven meets Lynch is essentially Schrader, and those are my three favorite filmmakers.
Whoa, dynamite! Just need to mention I'm going on a podcast, which will probably air later, or probably before this one drops. so maybe I'll edit this out later, but it's for hidden gems, and the two films I'm going to talk about are Spedders and Baby Blood.
I haven't seen those. I haven't seen
you gotta you gotta
I
watch
know.
them, Dionne.
I must.
Spedders is an early Paul Verhoeven film, like one of his early Dutch films, and
Okay,
it's about like these three like motocross racing guys are like in their early 20s, and this is such a weird comparison, but I'm just gonna drop it because you're Canadian, so you might know. But like, did you watch the old school Degrassi at all?
Yeah, like when I was in like junior high, they did reruns, like the
Okay.
original Degrassi.
Yeah,
Like the
yeah, not the
original? Yeah.
not the Drake one.
Right,
There
right.
was
Yeah, the original one. Yeah.
there was a film that they put out at the end of the series. Did you see it? Schools Out.
I don't know if I don't remember.
Okay.
Deep in the,
Right.
the
No,
Canadian references.
it was basically like an extended episode, like an hour and a half, but it was a bit more filmic. It had like a few montages, and it was incredibly crushing with what happened. It like so depressing and dark, even though it had like the cheery
Oh.
sort of Degrassi sort of vibe to it. And I remember when I saw Spedders and it blew me away. I told like a lot of my friends like, it's like School's Out. Like it's Verhoeven.
Oh my god! Okay.
Oh, it's so good. It's okay. It's considered pretty problematic. There's just have an open mind, because there's like a whole a part of it that's like homophobic, but then it goes in a narrative direction that to me is like, I don't know. I don't want to spoil it. It's something I want more people to see. Like, think about it. But
no. I think you've convinced me to do some kind of Canadian, like little double bill. I'm gonna start with Degrassi School's Out, and then I'll watch Spedders.
Okay. Or you know what? Just watch Spedders. Really, like it's a way better film. You know, like if you're not freshly like engrossed in the world of Degrassi, then you might not really like get the oomph of School's Out. But definitely watch Spedders, because it's like a hidden gem, and that's what the show I'm going on is to talk about that. So
that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
I love it.
For you, Verhoeven, like, what's your Verhoeven go-to?
Well, Showgirls is one of my favorite movies.
Wow. Okay.
Showgirls is everything to me. I mean, I love RoboCop and all of that.
Oh, that one's so good.
Yeah, but Showgirls, it's got Kyle MacLachlan. It's a brilliant neo-western that is just dressed up like a
neo-western, eh?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Outsider comes to town.
Okay.
She's the new sheriff in town. She does everything she needs to do with the law, and she leaves wearing a cowboy hat when she's done.
Damn. Okay. Yeah, I like that reading. Huh.
She does follow the tropes, and I love the film. I think that Verhoeven was doing something. I do believe he knew what he was doing, and he didn't tell the cast, and I can understand why the cast was upset with him. But I think it's a brilliant film, and I'm glad that people are reclaiming it. Mm-hmm. And then with Schrader, I couldn't pick a favorite, but if I try, it would probably be Affliction, maybe Cat People. I don't know.
Oh, I've never seen those two.
Oh my god, Affliction is unbelievable. The performances.
Okay.
It is just one of the hardest watches. Nick Nolte's performance of him just completely, like, his mind just like this paranoia. It's just it's unreal. It's unreal.
Cool. Okay. Yeah, no, I was reading about that one and Autofocus recently, because I haven't seen either of those and I want to check them out. But
big 10s out of 10s for those, I'd say.
Okay. I mean, whenever I think of like my favorite Schrader, I always go to a film he wrote but not directed, Rolling Thunder.
I've never seen Rolling Thunder.
Oh, yeah, you got to check it out. It's like one of the best. Oh my god, you would love it. It's like a revenge film that's so gnarly, but it's like majority dialogue.
Oh,
there's some killer lines in that.
Perfect, because he is, I don't know, I think that He's a genius. I know everyone's always mad at him because he's always saying the wrong thing lately, and I'm like, the man's in his 80s. Let him be an old man. Leave poor Paul Schrader alone. He doesn't even know what he's saying. Like, he's just on Facebook doing his thing. Oh, I think he said
he does love Facebook. You're right.
Yeah, and he's always saying the wrong thing. And I think he said something really stupid about the WGA, which obviously support the writers, don't cross the lines. But like some 80-year-old man who writes his own screenplays for a living said something really fucking stupid. And it's like, okay, like, you know what? There are so many other things you need to worry about than canceling Paul Schrader at the end of his life. Like, he just let him have some oatmeal and leave the old man alone. That's what
did he say, though? He's a writer. Like, wouldn't he stand up for the writers?
I think he just... I can't even remember what it was. I was barely seeing it on Twitter because like Twitter moves so fast with who we're mad at. But like it was a stupid take, and it was just like, let him have a stupid take because he doesn't even know what he's talking about right now. Like, I'm sure he doesn't, because he's like, I've been through so many writers' strikes, and it's like, yeah, Grandpa, let's get you to bed. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go to bed now.
Like, he's just like hanging out with Clint Eastwood or something. Like, that's what it is,
it's just he's just being old as hell. Like, he's just yelling at clouds, leave him alone. Like,
yeah. It's funny, like I don't know if you've seen Master Gardener yet. I haven't seen it.
Not yet.
But I'm reading all these reviews that are saying like this one's kind of bad. And from listening to like podcast interviews with him, I've kind of put it together that the reason why it's bad is because it's like one of his like what is it, like a lonely spiritual man in the world films, but it doesn't have an unhappy, violent ending. Like, I think it has a happy ending to it, and I think that's why people are like, dude, no. And
I felt Card Counter had a happy ending to it. And like,
really?
Yeah. I mean, I thought the final shot was really, really beautiful. And maybe that's me. I mean, maybe that's because I'm like, that's a happy ending for Schrader, but it's like not all of him. Okay. Yeah. A lot of his films end terribly sad and nihilistically, but I don't know. I think I'm going to like it. 'Cause you know what, if someone at that late stage in their career wants to sit down and like maybe write a happy ending or his version of a happy ending. Yeah. I think he's earned it, like, in my opinion.
He said he was quoting some song that I think he's included in the film, a line in the song that the songwriter wrote, something about how when I leave this life, I want to kiss it goodbye. Something like that. I'm not remembering it exactly. And he was thinking about how he wanted to end a film by like kissing goodbye instead of like saying fuck you goodbye, and that just makes me think now if I see that it's connecting to your work, because I think you try to do that as well.
Thank you. I would say that's exceptionally true of the project that we're currently developing, Riding Shotgun. Because it's literally just like the world is broken and messy, and like it's essentially about a girl, like an exotic dancer who takes a boy hostage with a shotgun collared around his neck, and he needs to drive them places. Him and two of her other stripper friends are doing a heist, and they obviously, the two in the front, Bobby and Cherry, they fall in love, and it's kind of this like, what's keeping us apart, and like the gun is a stand-in for everything that keeps people apart. And it's like, yeah, I want this to be terrifying. I want this to be I want that tension to read through. I want things to be as tense and scary, and the potential for violence to be there, but ultimately it's a love story. And so everything that everyone in the film goes through is good faith at the end about finding love. And I really like the idea of violence and romance mixed together, because people hurt each other all the time, and sometimes it's nice, I guess, for them to hurt someone else instead of each other to find love.
Yeah. It's definitely like a jarring mix for sure.
Yeah.
And you did mention true romance earlier. Like, that's immediately what I would go to with that. that film is
Yeah.
incredibly violent. Like, oh my
It
God.
it is, but it's also incredibly romantic. And I don't know, like, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I don't know. I was the girl who took pictures of dead birds and stuff. So like maybe I've always had a bad
Wow.
version of what romance should be because I was a messed up little child. But
Mm.
I find that kind of story like as romantic as things could possibly be.
Right,
Like
right.
Dewey and Gale through the entire Scream franchise. That's romance to me. Like, I don't know.
Hmm.
I just love it. I find that that's something only cinema can do is
Yeah.
put love in these absolutely critical life or death situations. And then you spend a lifetime being like, maybe love like that isn't real, but I can write it as many times as I want. Like, and I
Mm.
find that really exciting.
Yeah. It's weird because like I've always found, and this probably seems so cliched, but like the more like tortured, painful, like that won't work out films to be like, yeah, this is the shit. You know what I mean? I don't know what that is, but maybe it's because there's like something cathartic about it, you know. But yeah, but no, it's.
Absolutely.
I think when it's done right, like a good, romance overcomes all kind of film is like really powerful for sure.
Absolutely. And like, it's not for me because like love is just going to be messy anyway.
Yeah.
It when you get to do something cinematic and you get to make the violence mean something else and you get to make the like tragedy mean something else, it's just kind of like, yeah,
Hmm.
there's some really not pretty things left in the wake of if like you found the love of your life, like
Yeah. Hmm.
like I don't know, and especially when you're trying to write a love story that takes place over 3 days, it's like the stakes have to be as high as humanly possible.
Right, right. It kind of like the concept makes me think of it has like kind of like a 90s feel in a way to it. Like it makes me
Yeah,
think
yeah.
that seems to be a decade that's had like the most impact on you. Am I wrong in thinking that?
Yeah, I would say like obviously like coming of age in the like late 90s early 2000s
Mm.
um was huge for me, and I haven't seen a good lovers on the run film since like the 90s. The closest thing to it
Hmm.
is Drive, and even then that was 2011. It's been like
I forgot
almost,
there was a love
yeah.
story in that.
Yeah, exactly. And so like we haven't seen something like that when it
Hmm.
comes to like the kind of like romance that I want to see. And I mean,
Right, right.
cuz I feel like the 70s was a lot harsher and unforgiving, and I love the 70s. I think it's one of the best
Yeah,
decades of cinema. But I think
absolutely.
the 90s found a way to make the grit of the 70s mixed with like the
Mm.
wishy-washy like love stuff, but make
Hmm.
it sexy and fun, but like being like, yeah, we don't have to kill someone off at the end. These two are gonna get away and they're gonna fuck, and it's like,
Yeah,
yeah, that's what I want to
yeah.
see.
Yeah. I
Like,
mean, yeah, I'm trying to think of something. So, like, okay, what was that? Bones and All? Do you
I
think
haven't
that
seen it
kind of
yet.
fella? Okay, so I went into that thinking it was going to be, a very romantic film. And I personally came out of it feeling like it's a stronger character study of like the main woman in it.
Hmm.
The girl that like falls in love with Timothy Chalamet. I feel like you get more out of it if you look at it from that angle, because the
Yeah.
romance that they have is interesting, but it didn't really quite resonate with me.
Reading it, like,
Mm.
because I read spoilers for it because like
Oh,
I did
you're one of
because I'm like,
those, Dion.
no, I'm not. I hate spoilers, but I'm not a Timmy fan, and I'm
Oh,
like the
okay.
only person on earth who isn't. So I read spoilers for it because I was like, I just want to find out what happens because I don't know if I'm going to see it because he's in it. And then I was
Okay.
like, this sounds so beautiful that I think I'm going to go see it because it
Okay.
sounds like something that's right up my alley.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
I was
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, I didn't want to be out of the conversation, but I was like, how many hours of
Yeah.
Timothy do I have to watch?
What is it? 2.5, I think. Two and change.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh
So
my
that's how much
God.
he's not in it as much as you'd think. It's mostly about this main woman. Like she's really, really good. Like really good. Like I want to see her in more stuff. I've never seen her
Nice.
before. So, um, but yeah, like what else? I mean, everything I can think of, the ending is unhappy. Like even Call Me by Your Name, which I really liked. The ending is like, spoiler alert, like shit doesn't work out.
Yeah, and I mean, there are so many of those, and sometimes that's the beautiful part of the love story is that it couldn't work out.
Yeah.
Like,
But wait, we have to realize that we're actually spoiling your film. Are you okay with that?
I mean, we can talk around it
Okay.
a little.
You're like, I'm making this film and I really like happy endings and I really like
Yeah, but like that depends on what you think like a happy ending is, because there's a lot of factors,
okay.
and there's a lot of like sacrifices to be made, and
Okay.
some people would and some people wouldn't consider things to be happy, and some people, like, you know, I went through a phase when I was like, oh my god, I
Okay.
can't believe the Little Mermaid gave up being a mermaid to be with a guy. How could she do that? And
Right.
then I grew up and I'm like, oh no, I'm no better than any girl in anything. I'm gonna make her make a terrible decision because she wants to be with somebody who's bad for her. But like actually spinning back around to talking about Von Trier, the very first Von Trier that I actually watched, I started at the wrong end, was House That Jack Built.
I haven't seen that.
But I hear it references so many of his other films, so like
that's
references I wasn't getting, and I wanted to watch something that I thought would really, really upset me, and so I chose that. And because I'm coming at the wrong end of it, I found myself laughing and having a blast, and I'm like, I think I'm having the wrong experience, but I am loving the experience that I'm having seeing it. And I definitely recommend it because it has some of the most fucked up imagery I ever saw, but for some reason the way that he did it hit my funny bone in such a dark way that I was scream laughing, and I'm like, I know that's not what he's going for, but this is one of the best times I've had watching a movie.
I think then it worked. I mean,
yeah,
it seems weird to me that there's like a wrong reaction if you just are like, I love that movie. You know what I mean? Like if you gave 5 out of 5 to that film, I think it worked. Doesn't matter if you laughed or cried or whatever.
Exactly. I think that for me, like a movie works as if you had an experience that you liked. It doesn't matter even the intention of the filmmaker goes out the window when you sit down, because you're going to imprint a ton of things on it. Like, there are ways to read a movie. There's a way that the filmmaker maybe wants you to read a movie, but like even like Lynch says, it's like, it doesn't matter. The movie does the talking. There's no way you're going to see it from my perspective, even if I made the goddamn thing. So if you enjoyed it because you thought it sucked, or you enjoyed it because it was the best movie you ever saw, that's have a valid reason. Yeah, I completely agree with you.
You know, I got that lesson via Degrassi High. There was an episode where Lucy, do you remember this at all? Lucy, she made a slasher film with like a few of the classmates in one episode. And
let's read here.
She makes a slasher film and it's meant to be like a serious, scary horror film. And then she shows it to the class and they're cracking up, dying. And then she walks out the classroom and she's just like, oh, it's like so bummed down. And the teacher comes out and is like, Lucy, what's wrong? She's like, they hate it. And she's like, what are you talking about? They love it. They're laughing. I'm like, that's actually like such a good lesson to learn, is that if you can actually control that part of your ego in a way, you can create so much entertainment.
Absolutely. Like, I mean, like, even when Computer Hearts first came out, it was like, for a long time, people were like, what is this? Blah, 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 blah. And then, and then Louise and I were down in Chicago in October for a Music Box screening, and it screened to 700 people, and people suddenly are like, this is the fucking craziest, coolest thing I've ever seen. And it's like, and we were having so much fun with it. And it's like, of course. It's like, what did you expect? Louise was 19 when she wrote it. It's the first thing either of us, that was the first thing we ever worked on together. It was the first thing I'd ever like actually acted in, because I played Vanessa too.
You were the lips. Right?
And and the voice, and then I directed most of the special effects, because Louise was in that head the whole time on the last 2 days, that she's like, okay, I need someone with eyes. And I'm like, and so that was the first thing I ever directed, is I co-directed that with her.
That's
awesome. It's
can
like,
I ask?
Yeah, okay, so you're seeing, yeah, totally.
Oh no, I sorry to interrupt. No, when I was watching it, I got major like Tetsuo vibes. I don't know. Are you okay? Cool.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like at the time, like Louise's two favorite movies were like Videodrome and Tetsuo, and like
that makes so much sense. Yeah,
yeah, like it's like very Cronenbergian, like being Canadian, but it's also like very very Tetsuo, like especially when the bathtub scene like literally has like the pipe in the mouth and stuff. Yeah, that bathtub scene, like, okay, spoiler for everyone, at one point Louise masturbates onto herself, and that's what I applied to film school with. And Rachel Talalay, the famous Rachel Talalay, let me into film school with that scene, and I was like, she gets it. If anyone was gonna get it, it would be the director of Tank Girl. So.
Oh, she directed. Okay, I was wondering who that was. Of course, yeah.
She also did. I forget which. Like, she was the producer on like every Nightmare on Elm Street, and I know she directed one of them, but I can't remember which one. Yeah, and now she does a bunch of Doctor Who.
Well, now I have to show my tattoo. I don't know if you can see that.
It's a little squibbly.
Oh no! Oh, it says Nightmare.
What is it? What is?
It's Nightmare.
Oh my god! Okay, no, I can. Oh, okay. Now that you're pointing, I'm like, oh my god, I can tell that it's in the font. I love it. I love it. Yeah. Is that your favorite of the franchises?
Yeah.
The classic, like.
Although my favorite of the Elm Streets is number 4.
Which one? Oh my god, yeah, that's my favorite too. That like rules. Beetle kill, like the beetle kill,
the
is one of the
cockroach
most
kill.
Disgusting. Yeah, cockroach kill. That is one of the most disgusting things I've ever seen. Like 4 is crazy.
That's one of the most disgusting things you've ever seen.
Yeah, that
really.
And, like, I don't know. To me, that's very similar to like I don't know. Like it's kind of the same kind of gross that like the original Evil Dead does, which is like there's just some and I find like that stuff the grossest. Like I don't know,
because I feel like Computer Hearts was grosser than
that's fair. Fair. That's very fair.
Louise was very brave for what she did.
And then I don't know if you saw SIDS. Did you watch SIDS as well?
I did, so I watched I think I watched SIDS and then the Inferno. Those are the first 2 things I saw by both of you. Yeah. So, and I was just like, what? But then I think it kind of lined up the Inferno really well, because the Inferno is a lot more elaborate, and it just kind of was like, whoa, okay. Like it's not focused so much on the gore. But yeah,
exactly. But oh my god, that night when we were filming SIDS, because like there's Louise, and it's just like we told everyone else, because like she and I were dating at the time. We told everyone else to leave, except for makeup, which is Michelle Grady, and she did all the stuff for Cold and Blowing as well.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And for Haxx, like she's been with us. She did Computer Hearts, so she did SIDS as well. She did it all.
Wow.
And like she and I gluing a fake dick over Louise's real dick.
Wow.
It's just like this is a very intimate process for a first year film school, like, and we're gonna get in so much trouble for this, and that's why it's in black and white, is because we were like, there's no way that we're gonna be able to show a cut. And then at the same time, then she's got me strapped to the floor with like the fake stomach and everything, and it's and it's just like, holy shit. Like when we had to show that, we got in trouble with our administration consistently, because like first year it's
hell yes.
First year SIDS, second year's Inferno, because we're like, it's like, okay, you can only have violence and nudity if your professor signs up on it. And so our prof goes, yeah, if you can get someone to do nudity, then go ahead. And then it's like, okay. And then he's like, well, I already said you could. Yeah, you're like, it's like, I don't care, we'll do, like, so they're like, and so just every year. And then we did Haxx, and we were only supposed to make an 11-minute movie, and it ended up being a pilot. And we're like,
cool.
Yeah, and like I ended up having a seizure from dehydration on the last day of
Oh
set.
no.
Yeah,
Damn.
on right after we wrapped in the car,
Mm-hmm.
and like there I am, like laying there, and like all I remember like coming to and saying to Louise, it's like we can't tell anyone, because if they found out, we would get in so much trouble from the administration. They would have
Really?
cut rules. Oh yeah, they were like they were so this and that, and like we were working ourselves too hard and everything, because Louise and I are crazy people, and so is Tess. Like Tess, Paul produced, and she produced Inferno, and she was one of our biggest collaborators in film school, and like the three of us were always getting in trouble because we pushed way too hard and we did things way too much, and it's like they find out that there was any kind of like health accident, then they're going to start chopping things that the years underneath are allowed to do. So we're like, let's not tell anyone, just get me some Gatorade, and this never happened. We got the footage, nobody died. Like,
oh, you filmed it? Wait, you filmed the seizure?
Oh, the footage. No, this was on the last day.
Footage.
Like, it's like, okay, we wrapped the film. They can't take it away from us now. Like,
oh my god!
Don't tell anybody, because they threaten you with that kind of stuff. If there's this because you did this, then we'll take away your movie. And it's like, I just spent 20,000 Canadian dollars that I owe the government on that, and you're not taking it from me.
Like, hell no! Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And then you put it out, and then through Cybercraft, you had it for sale, didn't you? Is that right?
Yep. We had our we did all of our own like self-releasing. Like we dubbed videotape, like we did all of the art and everything. We had so much fun when it was just us like self-distributing, and like Louise is a genius at making like Blu-ray like the actual Blu-ray authoring. She makes everything so much fun, so cool. And like,
that's awesome.
We were just so detail oriented. Like the whole reason that like we couldn't be together anymore is we both took filmmaking way too seriously. And like, it was every part of our lives surrounded by it, that like, it's like, how can you be a partner with someone when you're being a business partner 24 hours a day? Like, why are we upset today? Well, because we're both upset about something in film, like, so it's like, but yeah, like the amount of detail and love that like we have for cinema, like I know that we'll probably die on the same day on set 40 years from now making a movie, because that's how we both wanted to go.
Is she helping with writing Shotgun?
Oh yeah, no, she and Heather Buckley from Black Mansion, they are my producers. Cool. Louise has been there since the inception of Riding Shotgun. Like she is my head producer. She is also additional dialogue, because and she has as much vision in that movie as I do. So yeah, like she's awesome. She's currently filming a project that I'm doing some production on, that I'm going to be doing a little bit of acting in. And then she and I also have a script that we wrote together called Scream Like a Girl, that we're going to be co-directing, because we haven't co-directed together since like Computer Hearts.
Like, wow.
I mean, we did everything together. Like Louise has is always producer. She did like Cold and Blowing is just as much like I would say that she did essentially co-direction, because she edited the whole thing. She did all the sound design. Like she was the final storyteller. She like so like to say that like, because really I wrote it, and then I directed performance on the day, and then the last person that tells the story in a film, the person who tells the final version, is the editor. And Louise created that entire soundscape. She created the film and editing. Like we work very, very closely, and we always will. And I'm really excited for us to like get back on set together.
Wow. No, it's interesting though, like how you said you two split apart romantically, and now you're making this love story. I feel like, is it kind of tending to those wounds in a way, or I don't know if that's too deep to ask.
No, not at all. I actually appreciate the question, because I was writing Riding Shotgun right after we finished Cold and Blowing, and I was working at the video store, and I worked by myself every day, so I had a lot of spare time to write. And I literally, it came more of a place of, hey, I wish someone would show up and rescue me. and it just didn't have anything to do, I guess in a way it did, because it had everything to do with our romance was maybe falling apart because we were just so focused on the heist. And so that's very interesting. And like, I've written many tragic love stories in the interim, and I think what was going on is we were both, and it's hard when you're both deep creatives. I feel like we were both writing ourselves stories to get through because neither of us knew who we were, so we were just trying to rescue ourselves with our stories, and it had nothing to do with the other person like not fulfilling that. It's just we're filmmakers building houses of our own in the same way. It's that can be really difficult.
I find that there can be sometimes like a psychic element to creating projects where, I mean, this sounds really weird, but like I used to make music, and certain things I would put out, like albums and stuff, would kind of like reflect things that ended up coming up in my life, like kind of tragic things that happened. And it's just interesting how like sometimes I think when you're going deep and personal like that, you kind of pull out those like psychic moments in a way, like something bad's gonna happen and then something does, you know?
Yeah. And I really think a lot of that, like, as someone who's like, I'm really into like chaos magic. I'm really into like Jung.
Okay.
And I think like just even this idea of like the collective conscious and like of your subconscious and all of that, you're pulling these things out, and it's almost as if you're making your own prophecy. And it's very like Gnostic almost in a way, to be like, I have written this story, and because I am the master of my own universe, this story is going to come to fruition. It's very like powerful stuff to be a creative, because you don't even realize what you're doing for yourself. Like, and especially being a musician, in a sense, you are ritualizing and putting intention into those things, and therefore you are bringing them about. I don't know.
Conjuring something. Yes.
Exactly.
Well, we are getting past the hour mark, so I feel like we should start to wind things down, if that's cool.
Absolutely.
I have
Sorry for being so chatty.
What do you mean? This is a podcast, and you've been lovely, and this is great. You don't need to apologize. You should say, sorry, this rules.
Sorry, this rules so much.
Yes. So I have a questionnaire. This was made up by Jeremiah, who sometimes does the podcast with me. So just a few questions here. They're all like pretty normal questions. So tea or coffee?
Ooh, iced coffee.
Okay. Yeah, that works. So choose one film for the rest of your life.
Okay.
I couldn't do it, so I don't blame you. I couldn't do that. That's crazy.
I have like a couple of films that I have seen over like 200, 300 times each. And I feel like, oh, these are my comfort films. Like I'll put them on in the background, and it's like, it's going to be between Halloween Ends and Spree.
Oh, you're going more recent.
Yeah,
interesting.
Like
I would have thought it's something from the 90s for you.
I know. But of all things, those two movies, like, I mean, Halloween's like my franchise, and I mean, most of all Halloween, I think most of them are dog shit. Like, sorry to them, but Halloween Ends is, I was one of the only people in the world who's like, this is the best thing that's ever happened. This is bread and butter to me. So many people hated it, and I loved it more than anything.
I haven't seen it. I didn't really like Kills that much, so I didn't rush to Ends, but okay. But Ends is cool. Okay, I'll check that out.
I didn't think anything would get me in the theater because I hated Kills so much that I'm like, nothing is going to get me to go see Ends. And then Louise saw it, and she called me, and she's like, they've got a really sad boy in this. I think you're going to love it. It's made for you. And then I went and I saw it in theaters 5 times. I even saw it in like 4DX. I'm like, that's right. Yeah, like,
wait, you saw it 5 times?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would have seen it more, but no one else would go with me.
You are a filmmaker, Dionne. You are a filmmaker. Only a filmmaker would do that. That's like, yeah. That's amazing. Okay. Next question is, I weirdly feel like I know the answer to this. If you had to be an animal, which would you choose?
I think I'd be a bat.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, a bat or a kitty cat, because it would just be kind
I
of
was going to
like,
think of the cat.
yeah. But
Because
bats
you
get
were,
to fly.
yeah, that's true. That's true. But then they can't go out in the daytime.
That's true. That's true. And
Yeah,
I mean, and cats get to nap in sunbeams during the daytime. So
they can do whatever they want.
maybe I can be a cat who can turn into a bat.
Yeah, you should write a movie about that.
I should. That would be. Oh my god! There'd be a whole Netflix series for little kids of these cute
Yes,
little bat cats.
that's actually like not a bad idea.
I don't think it's a bad idea at
all. Okay, so next one is what happens when we die.
I think about this all the time. I mean, that's why.
Oh, okay.
I just like literally switched like my antidepressants this week because I've been like being too OCD about like all of my bad thoughts. And I think about this all the time, and I don't like believe in like religion per se, but I believe in a lot of stuff. Like I read a lot of like Fortean stuff. Like I read a lot of Keel, and like I think that there's like kind of like the idea of like quantum immortality, where like so many like time exists all at the same time, and so like you're never going to like I will be in this chair forever in some version. I will always be in this chair. And so I think that like I don't know, like I know that this sounds like crazy person talk. No.
It sounds depressing, to be honest.
No, it's kind of like okay. If the roof just caved in on me right now, I wouldn't know, because there's always a version of you that continues to live. It's and so I'm like, oh, now I'm finishing this podcast. I don't know if I died or not, because there's so many different timeline versions. You know what I mean? Okay. I know it sounds more depressing, but to me it kind of sounds cool, because it's like then you always get some version of you always gets to finish the quest. Like I don't know, it's very kind of video gamey.
It sounds like kind of like reincarnation, but without like the cycle in a way. It's sort of like your many different attempts at lives are existing all at once. Whereas I think when I said I found it depressing is because I didn't think about it in those terms. I thought of it more of like you're trapped to the one like spot that you're in. I didn't
no, because every single
understand that.
No, but it's almost like it's kind of like every single decision you make is going to lead you differently. Like there's a version of me that maybe fell down the stairs and died earlier because I did something differently, but that's okay, because this version of me didn't, and maybe that version of me fell down that stairs at Cannes, and like who knows, like you know what I mean? Like it's just kind of like things just keep running, and your consciousness will never know that it's going to end.
Well, like, I like it because it's
your body will be more in that timeline, but
yeah. Song title that best describes your life.
Oh my god.
That's a weird one.
Yeah, that's You're So Cool by Nicole Dollanganger.
Oh, okay. I don't know that song. I know of her. I think she's actually from around where I grew up. She's from Stouffville, I think.
Yeah, she is.
Is that correct? Or okay, yeah, I grew up in Newmarket.
Yeah, I know she's from Ontario. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Ontario.
Yeah, I know she's from that area. But like I don't know Ontario very well. Yeah. But yeah, no, the songs off her album Natural Born Losers, and yeah. And the song is literally a reference to True Romance and also to Natural
The
Born
movie
Killers,
or the idea?
She's into all that same weird girl music stuff that I like.
Oh, cool. Right on, right on. Would you ever want to work with her for like one of your films, like get her music in your film?
Oh, 100%. Like that's something that I hope I can do in the future.
Sweet.
Which it would also be nice too, being like Canadians, fellow Canadians.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 100%. You should just slide into her DMs and say, like, I make wicked movies. You should do some music for it.
Exactly. And I think that we have a
Yeah.
lot of very similar interests.
You and Nicole Dollenganger.
Yeah. She's
Okay.
like,
I'll
her
look her up.
taste
I'll
and
look
the
her up.
references. Yeah. You should, especially her album Natural Born Losers. Like, she's into like a lot of the same like spooky depressed girl stuff that like I definitely grew up into as well. Like even the 90s movie, like the Ray Bradbury Halloween Tree, she makes reference to it. And I'm like, oh my God, I watched that movie when I grew up, like same age kind of thing. It's just
right
cool.
on.
She's got really good references.
Cool. Yeah. Well, before we wrap up, is there anything that you want to plug?
What do I want to plug? I want to plug, please, Cold and Blowing on Blu-ray if you can find it, and hopefully we will be able to get some out in Canada soon. But you can order it on Amazon. And if anyone is listening, please send us some funding for Riding Shotgun, which is currently in development and is looking for a little bit more of a push.
Well, send me the link and I'll put it in the description. So we'll do whatever we can.
Absolutely.
Yeah, please send money to help fund this film, and go on to the Vimeo for Cybercraft Video and watch her shorts. And yeah, that's it. Cool. Well,
awesome.
thank you so much for doing this. Yeah, it was great chatting with you. We'll have to have you back after Riding Shotgun comes out.
Yes. I can't wait.
Yeah. No, I'm stoked to see it.
Yeah, and thank you so much for having me on and for listening to me ramble about film. I love talking about film, and for watching all my stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it was great. Thank you so much. All right. Have a good night.
Bye. You too.